And we are recording. Here we are, Isaac Savage, Savage Talk with none other than Mr. Controversy himself, Benji Watt. We're just going to do a quick breakdown of the fights and overview of what happened last night with Joseph Parker. But first of all, welcome.
Thank you. We're back here in level 3. I've got down in my bunker and I've got all my essentials. I've got my Mims, as I like to call M&Ms. I've got my Coke and got my cat that's actually my audience today, who's just looking out in the wilderness saying, I wish I could be outside again. So
right.
Yes.
We only have a short time frame, and I know everyone's so excited to see this. So first of all, I'm just going to go over what I thought was in terms of watching it from a bar lounge environment. Now, overall, it was a relatively okay production, a little bit different from the normal of Sky. Obviously, it was going to 180 countries. In terms of, I found the commentary good. I found the structure of things a little bit chaotic, but overall, not a bad production. There was no issues with the stream in that sense. But that was my sort of view on it. I wish there was a little bit more attention on some of the undercard. Richie had those fights in particular, and also too some of the fighters that came through. I would have liked a few more in-depth interviews in that sense, not just highlighting on the main guys. But overall, good event and a good way to showcase boxing. But you know, there is going to be some controversy, and we'll discuss that further. What were your thoughts, Benji?
Well, the thing was, the interesting part is that you mentioned that they didn't have in-depth interviews, and that's mainly because the interviews that they were doing is by someone that's not actually in the boxing community itself. It was this someone that was. Are you talking about like the post-fight interviews? Yeah. I think that person's part of Flavor, the radio station. So she herself is not really part of the community. She's just, you could say, a boxing fan, but not part of the community herself. So it's hard to do an in-depth interview if you don't know your stuff. As well as production, they got most of the production was actually with Sky Productions, majority of them, because they're all freelancers here in New Zealand. So there's no contracts where they're exclusive to Sky or Spark, so they mostly float around between the two organizations anyway. So it's mostly Sky plus Spark. Streaming, they've always had that problem, but because of that dark cloud over their heads because of the fact that, you know, what happened with the Rugby World Cup in the past. But they actually did fine this last night, so it's a big ups to them. So obviously they're starting to improve their services, and yeah.
Hey, and big ups to, and I'll quickly move on to the fights after this. Big ups to David Light and Troy Garden jumping in last minute. I mean, they look fantastic. David Light, I mean, geez, sign him up. Is that quit your day job, Dave? I mean, yeah, he did all right in there, and he looked very good. He looked very presentable.
Well, the whole thing with the panel is starting to be like, they're starting to do more panels these days. I mean, like they had the panel with WWE with pay-per-views. Excuse me. They do it with what are they called? With football over in the States with NFL, or what I think that's called. I don't know. Oh, I'm such a typical gay boy. I don't know what NFL is. Especially with the Super Bowl and stuff like that. So they're trying to bring that sort of thing here with boxing. I think they do that with UFC now these days, do they?
They do. They bring the odd fighter in. I had a lot of calls this morning in terms of, you know, what my thoughts were. And I mean, look, hands down, I was just happy to finally see the fight. Now, what do we go into first? I could go into a controversial fight, or how do you want to break down one of the fights? I mean, I didn't see
Start from the bottom.
anything that wasn't televised, but we can go straight to John Parker and his opponent. That guy actually put up more of a fight than I thought he would have, and had off to him.
Well, he's actually got a big amateur pedigree. His opponent, what was it? Ilani, I think his name was. He's been a North Island champion, North Island Gold Gloves champion. He's been to multiple New Zealand national champions. So he actually has that amateur pedigree, and which is what we need more in New Zealand boxing, is less corporate boxers going pro and more amateur pedigree boxers going pro. And that's the thing. They produce a lot better a lot better quality of a boxer than any other boxer you might seen. So that kind of like proves how good they are.
I'll be honest too, because you and I have both followed John. We've seen him perform. He's just been blasting through people, absolutely destroying them. And I thought, oh no, here we go, another one of those. But mate, that guy was, made of something. He had some killers. I actually thought John was sometimes thinking, why isn't this guy going down? I'm throwing everything at him.
Oh, it's the Polynesian chin, they call it. It's just like that granite chin that no one can go down. And but the interesting thing is that you might have seen my interview with Glad Rap with John, is that he came in the fight telling us that his brain aneurysm was actually a misdiagnosis.
There you go.
So he's gone through that. He's had multiple doctors checking that out. This recent scan for this fight is like, there's nothing here. And they looked at past scans. It's like, no, there's nothing here at all. I don't know what this last doctor was on, but there's nothing here. So
now moving on to the Pantaloon. I mean, he's fought Naika. He just fought the Pig Hunter, and then he had probably about 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, one of Peach's cards. Another great performance.
Yeah, well, that last fight 2 weeks ago, they were really going at it. I mean, even like a couple of people in the crowd was like, oh, don't receive too many hard shots, because that was going a bit hard out. I mean, he's been fighting a lot of kickboxers because there's not a lot of boxers in that sort of light heavyweight division. But we're starting to see a lot more light heavyweights coming out of it. Like Jerome, obviously, is light heavyweight. Jesse's light heavyweight. John Parker has become... is now light heavyweight, and Nick Charalombis has said multiple times he aims to get back down to that light heavyweight. So we've got 4 massive light heavyweights that's going to be floating around. That will be future title fights. So we'll talk about Nick Charalombis later, because that's going to be a big topic. But yes. Jerome is going to be very interesting to see where his career goes.
Well, you made a good point, and I can't wait to talk about Charalombis, but Jerome Pantaloon, Fort Naker, he's one of the hot prospects from Peach Boxing. He's got 4 more fights lined up. I mean, it almost seems like the scene can't keep up with how hot this kid is. I mean, he's got fights lined up for the next few months. The world's this guy's oyster. He's going to take it to the top, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, he also is a plumber as well. He comes around to my place, does all his plumbing stuff here. Like, no kidding aside, he's a great plumber, thanks to Isaac Peach. The only unfortunate part is the unfortunate part, he doesn't have a plumber's crack. So it's like, don't get a view out of it.
You had to mention that. Now, look, he gets a lot of press. He's on everything. So I think we at some stage need to interview him and have a bit more in-depth interview, but he's such a shy, humble guy, and just can't wait to see more of him. Now, the big one, Panuve versus the Greek Charalombis. Let me just say, first of all, before this fight happened, the odds are in favour of Nick. Everyone thought this guy's going to toes him out. Panuve, the odds were less in terms of TAB, but also experience. Panuve hasn't been in for a while. Nick, the Greek, I call him vicious and delicious. He was going to get the job done early, I thought, but never take anything away from Panuve. He's lost a lot of weight. He's a power puncher, and he's moved on to some of the best. There was a point deducted. It was a great fight. A draw?
Now, the interesting thing is that I've actually looked at the scorecards. I had those scorecards sent to me by a couple of people. None of the judges has taken that point deducted off Panuve, which shows poor officiating throughout the whole night. Because throughout the whole night, it was poor officiating. It was quite crap. Majority of all of the officials on that night were. All of them were over the age of 50. So that kind of shows the quality. Yes, they might have experience, but it doesn't mean their brains are there at the moment. I mean, even in the main fight, they had. Even the main fight, they had one judge that hasn't judged in 4 years, and their last judging fight was actually a controversial one. So, I don't know what decisions were made, but this was one of the worst officiating I've seen in a long time in one night.
Let's just throw it out there though. If no points were deducted and it was judged as it was, who would have won the fight?
Well, if no points deducted, then it would have been a draw because no points were deducted, even though there was like 1 point, 1 point, 1 point. These cards are showing what it is without the point deducted.
I saw Doug Viney too took a photo of the scorecards, then put a photo of Fitzy up. I mean, good on, not good on him for doing that, but I don't know, really showcasing what's happened and who is doing what. So what you're saying is if that point was counted, it would have been a win for Panubang.
No, yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. If the point was actually deducted on 3 cards, Panubang would have won by split decision.
So, okay, what happens now? Because Doug stays 2B, PBC, and after the official announcement has been made and it goes down in whatever Boxrec, but then if they miscounted, for those watching back home, what is there a process?
What Doug needs to do is he needs to send a written, he needs to send it in writing to Pat Leonard and Tui Gallagher saying that this is what happened. This decision needs to be changed because this is not right, because it needs to be appealed. And the thing is, the funny thing is, this is exactly what happened on my show back in 2016 when it was Nailini Helu versus Angie Davis, when one of the judges couldn't count their cards properly, and he got reprimanded, and now he's no longer a judge. So what's happening with NZPBA? They're not making they're not making, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not making the judges liable for their actions.
Just playing devil's advocate, and we'll move on to the next one. Yes, okay, everyone's over the age of 50. I've been at so many events, high pressure situation. That's why it's good that it goes to the head judge and they get counted properly. I feel that, yeah, obviously it probably wasn't managed properly.
Well, no, there was no head judge that counted it. They did it so that all the judges counted it themselves. That's a good thing about. Now, I don't compliment most other organisations often, but that is what PBC NZ does, is that they do round by rounds and they have one person counting. The supervisor counts all the judges' scorecards. That was actually, yeah.
You're saying that would have been a good thing in the situation?
Yeah, because at least that instead of 3 people being liable for a shitty situation, it's only 1 person. Because now 3 people who are judging that card is the people are going to get in trouble for it because they did a shitty thing.
Okay. We're not going to be censoring any words in this interview either. Now, moving on, because we could go on about it all day. Let me talk about the Heat and Julius towering. Well, I was going to say towering Inferno. The Tower Inferno. Long. What a great smack talker. I love that. I wish there was more people like that in New Zealand that talked a big game like that. And, you know, for the most part of it, Julius Long was winning. But the Heat came through. Julius gassed. Boom, he put him out.
Yeah, well, that's the thing I've been telling everyone is that Julius can actually be a top 20 boxer. He's got that skills. It's all about if he actually.
Oh, you've cut out a bit, mate. We'll just wait a little bit while Benji comes back. Very good breakdown so far. Won't be too long.
Can you hear me?
Okay, I don't know what happened there. We're going to have to rewind, or I'll cut that bit out.
Yeah. Okay. So that's I've been telling. I'll just restart. I've been telling everyone that.
Okay, you go.
I've been telling everyone that Julius Long is actually a top 20 boxer in the world. But the thing is that for him to become that top 20 boxer, he needs to sacrifice everything in his life to actually get this happening. I mean, that's what Giovanna did to become world champion. She sacrificed everything. And when he does sacrifice everything to be a good boxer, he gets wins over, like, you know, Boy Tatupu, who he won the WBA Oceania title off. So he's actually proved that if he does that, he can actually win. I mean, he kind of showed that with Kiki Toilatali as well. And he's got those massive uppercuts and his height difference. So
answer this question then, Benji. Do you think Julius Well, he almost did it. Was he just talking a big game, or do you think he actually believed that he had backed it up? He was that close to doing it, but the heat just came through in the end. He's that much of a power puncher. He can finish anyone.
Well, throughout that night, Hemi was actually landing some heavy shots against Julius. I'm surprised that he didn't get knocked down earlier because, like, wow, those shots that he receives, he just kept on coming and coming. I mean, I'm surprised the heat didn't get into like a little like lukewarm again. So, I mean, like, he hit him with the kitchen sink, the baseball bat with the sledgehammer, but he still kept on standing on his feet.
So here's the thing then. Where to for Julius? Does he finish up? Does he carry on? And where to for Hemi? Julius first. What next for Julius?
Well, Julius, he's got two options. He can actually, well, he's got three options. He can do what he's currently doing, is only take the big fights just for the money, which is practically what he's doing now. Second option is if he actually takes boxing 100% seriously, starts fighting, like he needs to fight at least 5 or 6 times just to get back to a positive record, taking shit money just so he can get his record up, or and then go on for those bigger fights so he can actually get those regional title that he deserves, or he could retire because he is at that age where he's getting close to no longer fighting anymore.
And Julius Long. Who
yeah.
next? Some people are saying Parker, maybe too soon, but I mean, looking at the whole landscape of New Zealand boxing, who the hell could the Heat take on next in New Zealand?
Well, he said that he would only fight Junior Farr. It was either for a world title or if there was big money. So if there's big money, get those two fighting. Joseph Parker would be a very yeah. But even if they're at the same gym, but there has to be a lot of money. Joseph Parker would be interesting, but I don't think Joseph Parker is interested. So beyond that, they need more top 100 fights for him here. He needs to be tested. This was a test by endurance, but now we need to see him do some more power knockout fights.
All right, and now the one that everyone's been waiting for.
Not yet. We still have to talk about David Nika versus Jesse Mayo.
Okay, yes. Sorry. How did I even forget? You started talking about Parker. I started getting excited. Now, wow, geez, talk about anticlimax. 30 seconds. You've probably lasted longer than that, mate.
On a daily basis.
30 seconds. Now, look, I'm throwing that out there because I love both guys. I love Mayo, love Nika. Both good dudes, stand-up guys. Nika on paper, he's a standout. He's a stellar fighter. Mayo hasn't had as much experience. Yeah, he could have had a puncher's chance. I didn't know if it was going to go over a round or two. I didn't think it would be 30 seconds. Obviously, it hit the back of the head. Nika said that wasn't his fault. What happened?
Well, I've been watching all the comments surrounding that fight all across social media, and both sides of the argument have a very good point. There's the argument, yes, he punched in the back of the head, which technically would be a no contest or a technical draw because it's a foul. And if you can't continue from receiving a foul injury, then it's classified as a technical draw. It wouldn't be classified as no contest. It wouldn't be classified as a disqualification because it wasn't deliberate. It was completely by accident. On the other side, though, is that the boxer needs to get back on his feet before they can actually do anything about it. He took a knee and stayed down on the floor and saying, my back of my head, ouch, my back of my head. He punched me in the back of my head. He should have gone back to the top of his feet before the referee could actually implement anything, where he could actually give him that 5 minutes of break. But he stayed on the floor. So there's that argument as well.
Regardless of the result, it was a bit disappointing in that sense. I would have liked to have seen it go a bit longer. However, even if that didn't happen and it did continue and he got up, would the outcome have been different? And what I mean by that was Nika was always going to win, right?
Well, if it was going to be like that, then yeah, Nika was going to win. But I think Jess. Actually, no. I'm just remembering the whole entire fight, and like Nika was picking him to pieces. He wasn't just landing face shots; he was landing body shots. I mean, there wasn't even a single punch that he missed.
Yeah, but hey, puncher's chance. I mean,
yeah.
I would have
He
loved to
was
have
a
seen
very,
Mayo
very
land one.
clean puncher. Very clean. It was 100% landing, like the accuracy. So
I saw one of the interviews backstage afterwards with Nika and Gladrack, and I liked what Nika said, that he said in a way, a creative way, that I threw a punch, Jesse moved his head in a way that caught it in an on angle, not my problem, which is a fair statement, right?
it is fair.
But it's the other side would have the counter argument that that was an illegal punch. Could it, at worst case scenario, could it have gone the other way around, a foul, and Mayo have won?
No, because it wouldn't be classified as a technical. Sorry, it wouldn't be classified as a disqualification, because it would, it was definitely accident. It was complete accident. So yeah.
Okay. Hey, well, nonetheless, interesting for Naika, because he now goes to the Olympics, and take nothing away from Mayo. He's been in there now. He's got one loss on his pro career, but it's only up for him, and I look forward to seeing him fight again. Main event: Joseph Parker, Junior Farr. What he'd been muttering under his breath: "I'm going to beat you for the 5th time." This was their 5th encounter. I felt like Joe Parker didn't start as strong as I wanted him to. I thought he was going to blow him out early. Farr lasted. He was durable. He probably gave the boys a surprise.
Again, it comes down to the officiating. Was the poor officiating, because only one judge, I think, had it right. I mean, the fight was close. Even Kevin Barry said in the ring, this was a close fight. It was a close fight, and like the judges, like 2 of the judges had it too far wide out, but one judge had Junior Joseph Parker winning only by 1 round, and I think that was more accurate.
Let's just stay away from the judges for 1 second. Just look
No, I should never stay away from the judges. Let's
look about the performance. Now, Parker looked better earlier on, but I feel Farr had his moment, and obviously the cut happened, and it happened. I wish Farr had just unleashed a little bit harder, a little bit earlier, a little bit better. What was it? Is it, it's all fine and dandy saying, I'm going to do this before, but once you get in there under the bright lights, do you think that Parker just couldn't deal with the height, the power, that weight advantage? Why couldn't Parker put him out earlier?
It's because he got frustrated by a certain amount of time. Junior came in with a game plan. It wasn't to, and Junior's plan, I always thought it wasn't to knock out Parker. It was to beat him by decision. I think Junior was trying to, their original plan was to outpunch him eventually when Parker either gets tired or when he gets frustrated. And Parker got frustrated. He had moments where he started losing his cool, and when he started losing his cool, Junior took advantage of that. I saw a lot of Klitschko movements I saw from Junior. Just, come in, put the arm over the head, tire him down, and there were those moments. And Joseph Parker did get tired at some points. He actually got his seam back in those last couple of rounds where he started picking up the pace, and that's was the advantage for Joseph Parker.
Random question. I don't know. I was just thinking the same. Do you think when Parker came back round 6 or 7, he was thinking, why the fuck isn't Farr going down? I wanted to push this guy out early. Farr stayed in there, and it's credit to Farr. This is why they did do the 4 rounds, 2 apiece, or whatever it may be. Farr showed that he can get in there with the best of them. He didn't even look out of place. He didn't go down. He got the cut, but he stayed in there.
Yeah, well, also, Joseph Parker was trying to land his signature moves, and he missed every single time. Maybe hit him once, and Junior just stayed up like it was a mosquito. So that would have played onto Joseph Parker's mentality a little bit, and would have gone pissed off. All the hugging and handling, we all like a nice little cuddle, but that always annoys every boxer. So,
We put it out there on New Zealand Fire this morning too, and it's getting a bit of traction. What was your favourite fight and what next for these guys? Now, obviously, we hope Parker takes on Chisora next, but we'll see with COVID. But first of my question to you, Benji, what next for Farr after this loss?
I think he needs to go over to Australia, because there's 2 fights that everyone wants to see. We want to see the Lucas Brown fight, even though maybe Lucas Brown is kind of like out of his prime, so it's a little bit too late to see that fight. Or even if we do see that fight, it wouldn't be not as best of a fight because we know that Junior Fa is going to win regardless. But it's still one of those names that Junior Fa should actually tick off. There's the Dempsey McKean fight that would be quite interested as well. Those sorts of fights would be quite interesting. There's a couple of those Chinese and Japanese heavyweight boxers that I've been wanting Joseph Parker to fight for a long time that would be a better opportunity for Junior Fa now. It's those sort of international fights that we should really be looking at. I know that they'll have a lot of talks about fights in America because they will end up going back to America to start fighting again. They have that big Tongan background, big Tongan team, so they'll they actually had this Tongan event based all around Tonga in America this one time. That's when I think that was Junior Fa's last fight as well, where Hemi fought on the card and Junior fought on the card, and it was all the Tongan Americans came out to watch that fight. So I wonder if they're going to do that again. So yeah.
But moving into Joe Parker now, I mean, we'll see what happens with Fa, and like he's definitely not going anywhere. He's still going to do his thing. Joseph Parker, great win, puts him back in that category. Obviously, Eddie Hearn would have been watching that intently. That Chisora interview, spat in the hand. Will we see that next, or what else could be lined up trans-Tasman or in the UK for Joseph Parker?
I think what they're going to do is wait, because it's all based around what's going to happen with Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury. Because regardless, they might have to what's the word? They might have to strip or vacate certain titles anyway. So if that happens, then they're just there for a world title shot, kind of like what happened with Tyson Fury last time when he had to vacate his title. So it's just all about waiting at this present time, because if they wait and they get a title offer, then of course they're going to go for that title. I mean, Derek Chisora was always in the background, and that was one thing that pissed off even Joseph Parker as well, is that the media was always talking about Derek Chisora during the press conferences and not enough about Junior Fa. And Junior Fa was like, I don't care. But even Joseph Parker was like, "Oi, I'm not focusing on Derek
good
Chisora.
point. Yeah, no,
Junior Fa is my opponent." So
yeah, I liked how they brought it back into line like that.
Yeah,
it was good. Now, look, beautiful breakdown. Great catching up to you, Benji. I just want to highlight too, 21 interviews in the last couple of months. Is that a record?
I haven't actually really thought about that. Probably for me, because I like to keep busy. I mean, I like holding the microphone. I've got a loud voice. I like to actually say, "Yes, look at me, I'm pretty."
and in saying that, we loved what you do with the creative interviews. You kept some magic. As much, some people hate you, some people love you, some people in between. What next for Benji Watt? I mean, we're going to get you on here more regularly, but what's happening in the boxing world in the next couple of months? Bar COVID, what are you up to and what's going on?
Well, again, it's a bar COVID, so we don't know what's going to be happening at the moment. I mean, yes, I'll be helping out with backstage for Isaac Peach's team. They've got a show in May. Greg Thompson shows on March 27th, bar COVID. And that's going to be happening on Takapuna Rugby Club, and I'll be helping backstage for that as well, unless Glad Rap wants me. And there's P3 management with Nick Randall. He's got a show, possibly bar COVID, in April, where he'll be going back to Sky City Theatre. So we've got a lot of
we've got a main event for that. We've got a main event or not?
We do have a main event, but I just don't think I'm allowed to say it.
Come on, stop, give us a clue. Here live, breaking first.
I don't know if they signed the contract though, but I'll say this as a hint: is that two of Gunnar Jackson's former opponents are fighting each other. I don't know which. You don't know which one it is because he's fought a lot.
All right, so I'll ask one more question. Have they been active lately, or will this be a comeback for one of them?
No, they're both being active. For both being active.
We'll leave it there. We'll leave it there because that's actually it's good. That's for the boxing fans out there to use their minds. All of Gunnar Jackson's opponents could be many of a few. I mean, I'm going to rule out Mundine, but
yes, Mundine's going to be ruled out. The two New Zealanders. So yeah,
and
not Russian, cool. and not Russian.
No, I appreciate it. No, thanks for your time, sir. That was quickly off the cuff. Love having you on here, and we can't wait to have you back again. We'll put all Benji's details in the bio below. Anything you want to say to the fans watching back home? One last shout out, Benji.
Oh yes, make sure you look out for Rainbow Boxing New Zealand because we're going to do our annual Rainbow Gloves that's happening next February. All those LGBT boxers who want to compete, amateur boxers, or even if you're straight ally who who helps LGBTs or helps the LGBT community, you can actually sign on to be part of the event as well. So look out for that. Join us on Facebook and Instagram, and more details will be coming for those Rainbow Gloves events soon.
Thank you so much, Benji. Been a pleasure. Isaac Savage, New Zealand fighter, Savage Talk. Catch you next time.